Okay, welcome back to me defending my thesis. Today we're talking about Heated Rivalry, Episode 6, A Love Letter to Sad, Yearning People. We must start with disclaimers. 1. I still have not read the book. I have written books before though, so I feel like I'm qualified to talk about a TV to book adaptation. Even though I have not read the books, please forgive me. I probably will never read them, I'm sorry. 2. I have a degree in biology. Though I love my English and film study and acting friends. Huge fan of the humanities, unfortunately. I entered the STEM life and I'm in it for the long run, I think. 3. I'm still in psychosis. We're all still in psychosis. There's no new episode today. There's going to be no new episode tomorrow. Let's just hold our heads high and see how far we can get. I'm also Asian, along with being in psychosis. This will be relevant later. Again, no script, just vibes. Made this after 2 edibles, sat in bed, watched my little show. Life is awesome. Quick science break. So on the right, you can see images of cells. I took pictures of these using a 100x confocal microscope. And what we're looking at is heterochromatin, specifically H3K9 trimethyl. And this specific type of heterochromatin localizes around the periphery of the nucleus. So this is an important structural component for maintaining healthy nuclear morphology. And aren't the pictures I took so cute? Look how cute they are. I think these are mouse embryonic fibroblasts. Introduction. Why do gay people have to suffer so much? Everyone deserves a happy ending. But let's think about Call Me By Your Name, 2018. Is his name Elio? I can't remember. Watched this movie a million years ago. He cries through the ending credits. Shout out to Sufjan Stevens for Mystery of Love, one of the greatest songs ever written, probably. Thinking about Fellow Travelers, 2023, that has Matt Bomer, Jonathan Bailey during the AIDS crisis. Just so much pain. If you haven't watched that show, I highly recommend it, but you will experience loads of suffering. Also, every book I've written, I gotta add a gay person in there just for the representation, and for some reason, everyone keeps suffering. We need to end gay suffering. Yes, we as a society, you, me, everyone you know, your mom, your dad, your brother, everyone deserves to be horny, sad, and happy. We deserve happy queer media, and we deserve happiness in our own lives. To our right, here's a perfect depiction of Shane exhibiting gay despair, while Ilia is exhibiting bisexual joy. We need this healthy mix of these two things to keep going in life. So, Heated Rivalry does the opposite of this. It gives us, what did I call it? Gay suffering? It gives us gay thriving. Gay succession, that's not the word. Gay success. So, my thesis statement today, Heated Rivalry, Episode 6, is the perfect conclusion to a perfect TV show because we went to the fucking cottage. Again, I will be going through this episode chronologically to make things easy. First, of course, we gotta give a shout out to Scott Hunter, Man of the Year. I didn't think he'd appear. If you get that reference, you're the freaking GOAT. So, he won the MVP of some award, and he also won the Stanley Cup. I don't know if a gay person would win the MVP award in the real NHL. Maybe if they came out the way Scott Hunter did, and maybe if we lived in a woke enough society, but the Heated Rival universe, woke as fuck. Good for Scott Hunter, good for Kip. His speech was good too. I've never watched a hockey speech. I likely will never watch a hockey speech, but he did a good speech. Very PC, woke speech. He also has a lovely boyfriend. Gave a shout out to Kip, saying that he shares it with him and that he loves him. Really, really cute. And I love the fact that it cuts to Kip at the gay bar. I don't remember the name of the bar, with his queer little circle. I think it's really important that this show shows a balance between the hypermasculine queerness with having queer culture shown through Kip and his friends. Again, representation matters. This is a direct tie back to my previous defense. See representationception. I talk about it there, but this is why representation is so important and why I'm really glad that this episode opened up with Scott Hunter. Okay, the rest of this episode follows a plot line. Normally this plot line is for the entire show, but I found it to be really helpful when thinking about this episode in particular. These are the basic components. First is the exposition. This is when Shane and Ilia drive to the cottage. The rising action is all the trauma dumping that goes on. Climax is when they confess their love to each other. The falling action is Shane being outed and them having to come out. And the resolution is acceptance. I'm sure all of you have seen this fucking graph in like 3rd grade, but we're bringing it back today. So, starting with the exposition. We're going to the cottage. Shane and Ilia are going on their first date after 10 years. This is a sign to you. Do not give up on your situationship. Listen, right as they got to the cottage, they started role playing. He's just a bellboy, you know? They don't treat the staff like this. I'm looking at you. You do not give up on your situationship. On your first date, you could role play with them. It will be incredible. 2, they were holding hands immediately after leaving the airport. They're so in love. 10 years culminating to this very moment, this first date, this 2-week-long first date. Finally, we're getting what we all wanted at the fucking cottage. Also, what do you mean no one recognized Ilia in this Men in Black cosplay? Both Ilia and Shane are wearing sunglasses. Ilia has his hat backwards. He looks like he's on a mission. Plus, I'm pretty sure he's in Ottawa? Or something, Toronto. He's in Canada, okay? Everyone and their mom loves hockey in Canada. Ilia is one of the greatest players of all time. You're telling me not a single person would see Ilia with his hair slicked back, sitting in his backwards cap with his sunglasses just strutting around? Come on. Like, people are turning and they're horny, okay? So, parallel appreciation. The definition of parallel. A person or a thing that is similar or analogous to another. Here is a direct example sentence that I took from Merriam-Webster. I did not alter this at all. A parallel is drawn between Shane blowing Ilia in the dark versus the light. Fuck, I forgot the dark. Please do not take points off. Just on the left, we can see Ilia getting head from Shane in the light. I promise, guys. In an earlier episode, Shane gives Ilia head in the dark, and it's showing how their relationship finally opened up. They're accepting it, and they're not afraid to, fuck in the daylight. I promise I meant to add this picture. Please don't dock points. I am begging you. Anyway, this is when the first date starts getting real. Here, we're going to the rising action, the trauma dumping. So, they essentially small talked for like 10 years, and then they trauma dumped in 1 day. So if we do the math, 1 day out of 10 years, that's 0.03% of the time they've known each other. And if we're counting Ilia's Russian monologue and Shane coming out to Ilia as trauma dumping, then that increases to around 0.1%. So really, they catapulted their relationship in the matter of 0.03% time of knowing each other. And I think that's incredible. I think that there's something so inherently gay about that. It's just trauma dumping everything that you've ever had after a 10-year-long situationship. And there can be something inherently straight about that too, It's just a human nature. We're all just trying to love. We're all just existing. It's fine. So, Ilia learns about Shane's parents. Shane is explaining how he hasn't come out to them. He's not sure how they would react. They probably would be fine. Maybe they wouldn't be. Maybe this is foreshadowing. And then Shane learns about Ilia's mom. Rest in peace. When this first happened, I assumed that Ilia's mom killed herself. And then when Ilia said by accident, I was like, oh shit. So it was really traumatizing. Not that it wasn't traumatizing since he found her body. But then he said she accidentally swallowed a whole bottle of pills. I audibly laughed. Please forgive me on that too. But I thought it was funny because I got faked out. But the way that Ilia talks about his mom, how she was so strong and so beautiful, and her dad was so hard on her. His dad was so hard on her. It's just so beautiful to see that vulnerability come from Ilia again, and Shane getting to learn more about Ilia's side, as well as Shane getting to be more appreciative of his parents and his family. Also, an interesting thing is that Shane is a bottom in bed, obviously. We've seen that over and over again. But emotionally, I think he's verse, Like, Shane isn't really in touch with his emotions. He's pretty shelled off. He doesn't want to really display his emotions. That's why he is the one sitting upward while Ilia is lying down on him, explaining how he misses his mom, how he loves his mom so much. I think Ilia needs that outlet like Shane to really rely on to, spill his deepest, darkest secrets. So emotionally, Shane's verse. He's a rock, but he's also the sword. Is that a saying? I don't know. Okay, moving on through the plot line. Fan service appreciation ? Shane getting head while on the phone with my boy Hayden. Was it hot? Yeah. Was it uncomfortable? Absolutely. So sometimes I forget that this is an adaptation from Hockey Smut. So again, we gotta, you know what? As much as I was highly uncomfortable, we gotta sprinkle in these spicy scenes, and I'm here for it, okay? I'm here for it, and I'm glad that Ilia gets to fuck with my boy Shane, and Shane's playing along. You know, Shane's a little puppy, he's learning. He's learning, and Ilia just wants to turn him into a... Okay, never mind. But also we get a little glimpse at Ilia's bottom eyes, which I think is beautiful. So, we already passed the rising action, now we're going to the climax. The greatest first date ever in the history of first dates. So, Ilia and Shane are talking on the couch, their toes are interlocked. Ilia jokes about marrying Svetlana. Insert Shane's bottom eyes. Of course, Ilia is joking, but Shane isn't going to take it as a joke. Shane straight out says, we can figure something else. Okay, you cannot marry her. This is inherently not, well, in the context of Ilia joking, not that sad, but Shane taking it seriously, so sad, man. Shane is gay. You know, this is the first love that he's had. This is the only love that he's had. And him hearing news about something that could take it away, something that he's held on to for so long, it's really, really sad. And after hearing this, Shane then plans the next 15 years of their lives sitting up in bed. First, he talks about the charity. Honestly, you know what? Gay people running a charity? Is there any greater thing? Yes, Ilia and Shane should start a charity. I think they'd be great dads to the charity. And then Shane is giving all these explanations as to how Ilia could become a Canadian citizen, how they could be together even though they're going to have to be apart, how they can kind of maneuver their future careers just so that the public can start accepting them as a couple instead of rivals. And throughout all of this, Ilia realizes how much Shane cares for him. He's obviously known that before, but just hearing this, I think, come from Shane in this particular moment, hearing that Shane cares about the longevity of it, that Shane is in it for the long run, I feel like Ilia's, you know, he's a player. He's been around. But he's only been in love with one person, that being Shane. So hearing Shane lay out this entire timeline probably really is what really sold him in my head. And that's what prompts Ilia to say, I love you to Shane. I'm glad that Ilia is the first one to say, I love you, because I feel like Shane would be too scared to say that because, again, he's emotionally not very open. And immediately, that prompts Shane to say, I love you too. Them just knowing that both of them are in it for the long run, both of them care about each other beyond just the game, beyond just the fucking. They care for each other as people, and they want to grow old together. And I think that's really cute. And then in the next few scenes, we get these really, really touching moments. One, this beautiful shot of them in front of the lake. The sun is rising. Shane's a little bit lower than Ilia because, again, he's the bottom. And again, love is hard to come by these days, okay? Romance stories should revolve around romance. That's what the show is. This is a romance show. I'm glad we're getting just these pure shots and scenes of them being in love. This is what we've needed after the first 5 episodes, and I'm glad that we've gotten it. And probably the most touching moment, I think, of this episode is when Shane is explaining to Ilia how they should start a hockey camp, which is hilarious. That's such a Shane thing to say. They should start a hockey camp and then donate the funds to, like, suicide prevention. And then Ilia responds with, she would have loved you. So tragic. So tragic that Ilia, the only person in Ilia's family he's cared about is his mom. And his mom is never going to be able to see her son fall in love. Really sad, but Ilia saying it to Shane is very heartwarming. It's just so fucking cute, man. Like, this whole episode's so fucking cute. I can't believe we're at the cottage right now. Of course, with any gay story, we need a little bit of tumultuous action. We need the falling action. So, falling action number 1, getting outed on your first date. Youch. That shit hurts. So when I first saw this scene, I was horrified. Horror movie. I genuinely flinched when I saw the man in the foreground. I was like, who is that man? I have no idea. In my head, I went straight to murderer. I'm like, they're going to get murdered in broad daylight because someone broke into Shane's fucking man-made built from the ground cottage. But no, it's just his dad, you know, it's just his dad. It's fine. But of course, Shane is in shambles. He was not prepared for this. He didn't think it was going to happen like this. He is on the ground, like, face down and just wanting to disappear from the earth. And I think this is a very great example of homeostasis. You can't have too much of one thing. You need to balance it out. So again, this is a very scientific scene in my opinion. Following action 2, first time meeting the parents on your first date after getting outed. Youch! I love how Ilia and Shane just show up to their parents, Shane's parents' cottage in the mom I threw up type of stance. Ilia has his like hands clasped and his like knees are really close together, and Shane is just sitting there kind of like a Roblox character. So hilarious. So Shane explains how he's gay again, and I think what's really hilarious is that his parents suspected it a little. I think this humanizes the show a little bit because, of course, they're his parents. You know, they have one kid. It's gonna be at least a little bit obvious that your kid's a little gay. So that makes me like the parents a lot. Another great part of this scene is that Shane explains how they've been not in love, but they've been seeing each other since their rookie season. This is hilarious because of how surprising it is, obviously. But also, technically, Shane's been hiding this for 10 plus years. So in a sense, he has been lying to his parents for 10 plus years, if you want to frame it that way. At least that's how Shane would frame it. Also, this is where we learn for Shane and Ilia both that they've only loved one person. I already explained previously how important I think this is for Ilia, because again, he's been around, he's been fucking around. So him explaining that he's only been with one in love with one person, that person being Shane, I think really solidifies his loyalty. Coming out to your Asian mom, ouch again. We're still falling down into a hole. Again, I'm Asian, so this is why this is important. First, I just want to say above this presentation, this coming out scene I think is very beautiful. I know people have been comparing it to the Stranger Things coming out scene. I've only seen clips of it, photos of it. I don't want to compare media, especially since they're both trying to accomplish something regarding the LGBTQ community. So what I will say is that this scene itself, I think, is gorgeous. It starts out with Shane apologizing, first, for not telling his mom after 10 years, which I think is a valid thing to apologize for. He didn't say that explicitly, but he implies that this is one of the things he's apologizing for. The second thing he's apologizing for is for being gay. And he tried really hard to not be gay. This is what's truly heartbreaking, is that, yeah, he tried with Rose. He tried everything to kind of conform and probably be the son that he envisioned his mom wanted to be. And that fucking blows, man. And I feel like that's unfortunately too relatable to too many people, probably especially to closeted hockey players, are trying to conform to a heteronormative environment, whether or not it's with their families or with their teams. I think that this is probably a very common issue, and it's a very tragic issue. Thankfully, the writers in this show are very competent. The mom refuses Shane's apology. Instead, she apologizes back for making Shane feel like he couldn't come out. And I think another beautiful thing about the scene is that Shane doesn't say, oh, don't apologize for that. Shane accepts. Shane understands that his mom didn't make a particularly welcoming environment, and he is accepting of his mom. So I think that dichotomy of Shane not having to apologize but his mom apologizing is really nice. And yeah, again, this is a lovely example of humanizing this show. I feel like we'd be fucking around, you know, we'd be meeting up at 3 a.m. to have sex, and just getting this really touching, clean, emotional, vulnerable scene towards the latter half of this episode and show is keeping it grounded, keeping it believable. Asian mom maximum acceptance. This is the first part of the resolution. Again, I'm Asian, so I can say this. Having a gay son 101. Shane's mom should teach a class in this, because first, we gotta capitalize off of his sexuality. She herself says that there's a world of opportunity out there. Listen, if my son was dating the other best player in the league, whatever league we're talking about, genuinely, think about all the revenue we could pull in. Think about, we got 2 goats. The goats are dating, and one of the goats is my son? My son-in-law? Are you kidding me? Their children are gonna be fucking beautiful and fucking talented. Like, I just feel like we're set for life. We're absolutely set for life. She also, what I think is hilarious, questions Ilia's loyalty. So she says, would you leave Boston and join Ottawa for Shane? And Shane's like, come the fuck on. Like, you care too much about hockey. And that's hilarious. I'm glad that his parents are very representative of himself. And of course, Ilya says, of course I'm leaving Boston for Shane. That is the only correct answer that Ilya could have given, and he gave it. So props to him. And Shane is rightfully overwhelmed because his mom is moving at 115 kilometers per hour. So he shuts down, and rightfully so. Like, this has been a long day. We've got a lot of highs and we've got a lot of lows. So let's just all take a break and just face plant into the table and think about our lives, probably. Resolution number 2. A 10-year situationship to a first date to boyfriend pipeline. The pipeline we all dream of, I think. Just kidding. Do not do a 10-year situationship. Anyway, unless it's like this, then it's totally fine. But hey, you didn't hear it from me. So they're dating fucking finally. A great thing about this story is that Ilya knows how to comfort Shane. Ilya has seen Shane through the highs, through the lows. They've seen each other through the highs and the lows, heaven, hell. They've gone through it all. So knowing how to comfort Shane, especially when Shane is in a very vulnerable state, is really beautiful to see. It's giving how Ilya always made sure that Shane was comfortable when they were having sex. Kind of like that. Ilya's kind of just very protective and very considerate of all of Shane's feelings. And Ilya knows that Shane needed validation, that he was in fact Ilya's boyfriend. Again, this is exactly how Ilya first said, I love you. Ilya first said, yeah, we're boyfriends. And Shane was like, okay, yeah, good. I'm glad we're on the same page. Also, they did it in front of the parents, and they kissed in front of the parents. Listen, the parents knew that they were fucking lovers since before the rookie season, but their response to seeing how protective Ilya is of their son is beautiful. And I think it's extra cute because they're both like 26 and grown men capable of love. Seeing your son be in such a vulnerable state and seeing a grown man being able to take care of him must be really comforting for the parents. And finally, we reach the conclusion of this plotline, of this storyline, is the end. What have we learned? We learned that love is cool. They're gonna go happily ever after. They're probably gonna get married. They're probably gonna have babies. They're probably gonna start a charity. They're gonna save lives by contributing to suicide prevention. They're gonna grow old and fucking start a farm together. But they're so cute. You know, I'm so glad that we got a happy ending, at least for season 1. I want to launch myself into the sun. That is my key takeaway, me personally, is that you will see someone in outer space spinning in circles until a little ember, bursts out the corner of your eye. That's me. I am lost into the sun. Hey, and you can join me too. I don't care. So, some conclusions. Scott Hunter and Kip are unsung heroes of this story. Again, I don't understand the hate that those characters have gotten from the episode 3. I've always been compelled by their stories, so seeing them get their one final hurrah in the last episode, really great to see. Really great that they're also somehow they're the focal point of the representation of the representation. Again, see representationception in my previous defense. Ilya and Shane make each other better people. I've already talked about how Ilya knows how to comfort Shane. Shane is also somehow an emotional rock for Ilya. They just balance each other out so well. They have very different energies. I think this also plays into the actors' chemistries. And they're both fucking stunning on the inside and outside. And I know Ilya knows a lot about the inside and outside of... okay. Other things I like, Shane's dad is boring. I thought that was funny. Shane's dad is hilarious. Thought that was funny too. Like, in my head while Shane was coming out to his mom, I was thinking, man, Ilya and Shane's dad are probably just like bonding over the Russian vodka, getting lit right now. I don't know why I wrote Shane's dad twice. I should also say that Shane's mom is also the GOAT. Except that she's capitalizing off of her son's sexuality, but I would do the same. Ilya's mom is dead, but also the GOAT. We already knew this. So, just a greater impact and context of this episode and this show. Gay people can have happiness, we just have to show it. This episode in particular is a perfect example of how we can tie up a gay romance. I know the reason why a lot of gay romances end in tragedies, because it's reflective of the society we live in. How a lot of gay people will never get the chance to be themselves, to feel safe. And that really sucks. But I'm glad that we're getting mainstream media in which gay people are winning. I think as important as it is to show the harsh realities of it, it's also important to show the wins that we can get. I believe in gay hockey players everywhere. Again, I'm not a hockey player, know nothing about hockey, but I hope that any hockey player, straight, gay, whatever, that have watched this show maybe will, integrate a little bit of acceptance and creating safe spaces in their teams or wherever they play or whatever the fuck goes on in hockey. I don't know. And this show is incredible, and I will be insatiable for probably the next year. I will probably be thinking about this in every waking moment of my entire life, and thinking about how maybe I will never have love like this, and maybe that's okay. Maybe I just need to pick up the skates and go play hockey and just start fist fighting people on the ice, and maybe one of them will kiss me. Anyway, let's not. Oh, I forgot about this. So I added some Ilia-isms because realistically, this episode was part of a comedy show. So let's just quickly go through all of the Ilia-isms. Number 1, Ilia making fun of Shane over the car he's driving. Number 2, Ilia saying how horny he is. Number 3, Ilia teasing Shane for not being able to do math, aka cooking way too many hamburgers. 4, saying that Shane doesn't need to explain every guy he's put his dick into, which is 0, to his parents when coming out. 5, Ilia's afraid of the loon. 6, he's on the cover of the fucking game. I found this one particularly funny because I grew up on the PlayStation, and I feel like if my face was on a game, that's fucking awesome, and that's so hilarious. The next one, give me kiss, cute. The next one, Ilia plays for Boston. Who doesn't know that? I forgot to add. I switched order, but Ilia and Shane are lovers. Shane says, please don't say that. And Ilia's just a hungry guy, He just is chomping on his spaghetti and he just wants a few shots of vodka. That's my man. Ilia's so fucking funny. I don't have as many Shane-isms in this episode, but I'll still add a few. 1, Shane is saying, I want to relax with you. So cute. He's so pure. He doesn't get that Ilia's joking about, oh, relax is what we're going to do. Now we're gonna fuck. But Shane's like, nah, let's just chill. He makes 8 burgers. Good for him, They got to get their protein intake, so 8 burgers is reasonable to me. He can make a loon call. I feel like that just checks out for his character. Of course he can make a loon call. What else can you do? I bet you he can do the splits. I feel like that's something Shane could do, is the splits. I don't know why my mind went to that. The next one is Shane staying up all night thinking about the next 15 years of their lives. Such a him thing to do. He's just planning. I feel like when he goes home, he's going to have to make a PowerPoint like this to just think about the rest of his life and rest of Ilia's life, and make Google Maps between the best roads they can take to make sure they're only 1.5 hours apart instead of 2 hours apart. Things like that. And then Shane completely breaking down at the dining room table, saying that he just needs a moment to relax because he's overwhelmed. Real. Too real. Finally, some acknowledgements. 1, I'd like to thank the nucleus, the powerhouse of the cell. You might think that that's the mitochondria, but I look at the nucleus, so I'm deeming it the powerhouse of the cell. 2, Shane and Ilia, they really made me believe in love again, but they also made me believe in launching myself into the sun. 3, I'd like to thank myself. I would much rather be making these than lab meeting presentations, and I will keep making stupid-ass presentations because I do not want to face the real life. AKA, I need to go to my fucking lab, grow my fucking cells. Anyway, shout out to the soundtrack. Ton of great songs, ton of great music to listen to. Shout out to Nina Geraci's album. This has nothing to do with anything. That's just my album of the year. And shout out to gay people. Y'all are awesome.